So John, how's it going?
Oh, good. Thanks for having me, Brady.
Yeah, dude. So happy to have you. So happy we could be entrepreneurial in our problem solving and just make it work.
Sounds good.
Cool, man. So John, I think most of the internet knows who you are, the internet in our space, and I think most people in our space know that you make some pocket change from your portfolios. Um, Go ahead.
Oh yeah, they're doing pretty good. It's been a good year. I don't know if most of this space knows me, but yeah, some people read the Fat Stacks newsletter, and that's great.
Yeah, and the emails you send out are really high value. Like just apart from the blog posts, I think your emails are beastly.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Actually, that's the fun part of the whole thing. Actually, that's my favorite part is just writing those things. So I just do it as a break. I enjoy writing. It's a big reason I'm in the publishing side of this business rather than say e-commerce or something more analytical. I enjoy writing. That's how I started my new sites. I still work on them, and now the email newsletter is just sort of a thing to yak about this sort of business.
Do you still do writing on your portfolio sites, or is it just for fast text in the newsletter?
I do here and there. Yeah, I write when something comes up. Like probably my favorite site is a fairly new site. It doesn't have all that much traffic, but it's a travel site. And when I go on a trip, I will come back and I'll write about the places we stayed, and I've got my own photos, and that's kind of fun. It's sort of like get to relive the trip. So I've actually really enjoyed that, and I'll do more of that. So I'll write on there. I buy basically if I bought a product just because I need it for whatever office or home or something, might as well write a review about it, right? I mean, I bought it whether I like it or not. So that's sort of where I'm at with my contributions to the niche sites, but there really is no limit to what I can contribute. I usually have a lot of ideas. Um, yeah, there's a lot of time spent on managing uh, the sites as well. Working, keyword research is huge because I do have other writers, so I need topics, and so I'm constantly doing quite a bit of research for new topics. And yeah, I don't know. Some days I look at my days and I'm like, what happened? Like, what did I do?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm sure we'll come back to this. Let's do chat about your start as an entrepreneur. So now you spend your time, spread across your portfolio. But how did you get your beginning? Like, how did you cut your teeth?
Oh yeah, well, I used to practice law. Went to law school and became a lawyer, and I started working at a smaller firm. And this was way back when the internet, it was well established, but I think a lot of local businesses hadn't really embraced internet and websites and online marketing. But so we wanted to move in that direction, and I actually I didn't know whether it was a good opportunity or not. I had no idea. It was still relatively unproven. This was back in '06, and so we looked at it. We launched the site. It was bad. We hired a new company to redo the site, and that was very, very good. And the best thing they ever told me about was, we found that our other they just did sites for lawyers, which was pretty cool because they really knew the space well. And they said our law clients with websites who blog on there regularly, like informative content for prospective clients or existing. They said they're doing really well in search, and I thought, oh, okay, well, I can actually do that. That's pretty easy, right? It's like I didn't have a big budget for marketing, but I did have some extra time I could write blog posts. So I just started blogging and they were right because it really worked well. And this was before I would say the lion's share of law firms were really putting money into online. Like a lot of them didn't have websites, and so it was almost like just fill in the Google vacuum. It was like publish an article and target a keyword, and it's like boom, it's there. And so yeah, it worked really, really well. So that's how I fell into it. And then you're going down into the blogging rabbit hole. You learn all about this business, the affiliate side of stuff. You start learning about that, and then display ads on the road, and so on and so forth. So that was how I fell into the whole thing.
But yeah, so I think from someone looking at it from the outside, it sounds very much like you got your start as a lawyer doing blogging and it worked really well. And now you run this portfolio that makes a joke pocket change, like only $70,000 in the last month or something like that. Um, did you ever have a point when or you started a project and it just flat out flopped?
Oh, lots. I've had a lot of sites that didn't work out, just ill-conceived. lost interest. Yeah, I mean, I've only really done content sites. I haven't done much other type of models online. There's a lot of ways to build a business online, and I like the publishing, but I acknowledge that that's just one of many. So I never really ventured too far from that. But I've definitely started sites that were flops, yeah, for whatever reason. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes they just don't work out. Sometimes you just think they're a good idea, and a month later you're just like, what was I thinking? You know, just shut it down. So yeah, I would say in the last few years, though, I've really honed my approach to where I don't think I've bailed on a site in the last 2 years, last 3 years that I've started. I believe in them. I think they all have promise. Like obviously some won't work out as much as I'd like, but some will hopefully do better than I expect. Yeah.
And how is your process for like figuring out what new sites you want to go into or what new niches you want to go into? How's that changed over the years? Like what? So the thing that makes me ask that is you mentioned that you haven't bailed on a site in 2 years. Like what about your process is so different now that you say, I'm so confident that this site's going to work that I'm not going to bail on it, as opposed to earlier you mentioned having a few different failures there.
Yeah, well, earlier I would do mostly affiliate, all affiliate. They're all affiliate sites, so they're a bit more hit and miss, right? Like, and they weren't Amazon affiliate. I've never been a big Amazon affiliate. Not that I have an issue with Amazon. I don't know. I just sort of fell into this business, learning about ClickBank, and I did a lot of physical product stuff, high ticket stuff that worked out pretty well. So affiliates really hit and miss. You think it's going to be a good idea, and it doesn't. But now affiliate's sort of a secondary revenue stream for me, and my real focus is display ads. So that gives me a ton more latitude, and I think I've got a much better shot at making sites work. I have a very simple process. I've dumbed it down to ridiculously simple, and it works for me. And that is a lot of content. So I put a lot of time and money into content. I target very low competition keywords so I can rank them relatively easily and attract links naturally. I don't build links, and that's it. And the traffic slowly grows. It takes a long time for a new site to get some traction, but once it does, and this is not the fastest way to build a business online. I know that. If you want fast, don't do this. This is where you've got to publish a lot of content. I started out writing it all myself, like every day, 5-6 days a week. I wrote, and that's what it took until I was able to bring on a writer or even part-time. And so that's what I did. And targeting the long tails is really important because I don't like link building. Link building is great and it works and it can really speed up the process, but I just don't like doing it. I don't like the elevated risk. I don't analyze it very carefully. Like some guys out there, folks who do SEO, they're very analytical. They love to like screaming frog. Like, I don't even want to think about trying using that. I think I've looked at a spreadsheet once. I was like, well, no, just I'm not interested in like combing through 3,000 URLs and looking at all the different inbound link text and all that analytical stuff. Some people really love that. That's not my thing. So because I'm not prepared to do all that work, I really have no business doing the link building because I think these days you have to be like really spot on to make it work. That's all I know about it. So I just prefer the low competition, really obscure topics, decent content, and you will attract links. I'm not saying you don't need links. You actually do need links. I know that. I just prefer to attract them from other sites naturally than build them.
Yeah, I think when you said that you don't need much link building, Gail and Mark just got a little bit of heartburn. Don't know why.
No, I'm sure they think I'm nuts. They've never told me that. They're super nice guys, but what they do works for them, and it works like gangbusters, and they have systems in place, and they scale it, and they rank for all sorts of stuff, I'm sure. But just for me, I just take a different approach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think so. Talking about the long tail, do you mind talking about your keyword research process?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so is there any like keyword volume that you look at and you say, no, that's either like that's outside of my bounds? And if so, what is that? What are those numbers?
Oh, that's the thing. I get asked all the time, what's your formula? I don't have a formula. I eyeball these things. I don't have an upper limit of keyword difficulty per se, but I do tend to look like for the long tail. And I also look at my site as a whole. Like if the article makes sense and for readers on my site, I'm going to publish it. I may not necessarily get traffic to it, but I'm going to publish it. I'm also have the luxury to maybe waste time and money on stuff that may not pay off. But also if I'm doing like what I call a cluster, like a whole series of articles tightly related in topic, I will go after topics that probably will get no search traffic, but they serve as like a supporting article that is useful to round out the topic itself. In terms of like lower search volume, like minimums, no, I will. Okay, I do have it. It actually has to register as a search phrase, but if Ahrefs even reports it as like 0 to 10, you know, that's like the lowest. So, that to me is acceptable. I will target that word. Usually those have very low competition or keyword difficulty scores. I will not go after a keyword usually if it doesn't even register as a search term, like if it's like no data or something, like nobody actually searches it. Like let's say, you know, just pick some random word, like, I don't know.
Just anything.
Never comes to mind, right? Just say, yeah, let's say anything goes. Okay, that's not going to be a keyword I would ever target. I would never write an article targeting with the main title as anything goes. Now I may have like a keyword before or attached to it, but that's not going to be the title of an article on my niche site because nobody is going to search anything. I mean, that's just like so vague. It could mean anything. It really means nothing, right? So that's an example of something I wouldn't do. So there has to be actually some sort of search, like registers as a legitimate search, but it can be very low.
Yeah, this is one thing I think a lot of people get way too worked up about is search volume. I know so I worked at Niche Pursuits for a while, and we would regularly target keywords that, say, Ahrefs was saying would get 0 to 10 searches per month. And we would end up ranking for those and making probably quite a bit more money than if we had targeted, you know, shorter tail, higher competition keywords. But I think one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of these like really long tail keywords, so that 0 to 10 is not your destiny, you know, like maybe you will only get 0 to 10 searches per month, but there's every possibility in the world that you're going to rank for multiple long tail keywords with just a single article. So I think I 100% agree with you. I think people get way too worked up about search volume.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, if I only ended up getting 5 visits a month, I wouldn't do it, but my experience has shown that it ends up being more. That's the point. You get more. And, you know, the other thing to keep in mind is sometimes you may not get a lot of search volume, but if you do some content manages to attract a lot of links, which can help your overall site authority. And that's an interesting strategy or tactic to deploy as well. And I will do that. You know, if I think a particular topic might actually attract links, that's a worthy reason because that just helps the overall site.
How do you determine what topics might attract natural links?
Well, usually anything where especially if I have my own data involved, say from quizzes or polls, or I have ways of getting data, which I won't talk about here. That's in my courses, which is like super, super simple and fast way to create things that will attract a lot of links to your site. Like just last week or something, I had a major university contact me wanting to use one of my linkable assets, which literally took me 4 minutes to create, and they wanted it for a presentation, and I said sure, but you got to link to it. And she said, oh yeah, we're going to put the whole thing on our website, the school website, and link to you. And I'm like, like what would people pay for I think it was like University of New Mexico or something, like a big state school. I mean, those would go for like $1,000. Some people would probably pay $1,000 for a link like that, and that just came because I spent 4 minutes creating a linkable asset, and I've got tons of those. And so yeah, I mean, it really anything data driven, but sometimes if you can be creative as well, or that's interesting, or you have an out there opinion about something that attract attention too, that could get other websites would link to you. They're just not going to link to like, the best basketball shoes article. I mean,
yeah,
there are exceptions. I mean, I think the Wirecutter and these sort of like mainline top tier publications, if you can get there, they attract a lot of links, which is really cool, which is an interesting thing, right? Because like, or DC Rainmaker, I've mentioned that guy. He does like performance technology reviews, for like running and cycling and swimming and all that, smartwatches and all this other gear. And like this guy attracts links in droves to product reviews, but if you go read his reviews, you'll see why. I mean, the data this guy puts out there, like he spends weeks writing these things. They are truly amazing. And, so yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways to attract links. You just got to create content that's worthy, and other sites will be like, oh yeah, that is amazing, I'm going to link to that.
Interesting. And so without getting too much into your processes here, I think infographics are the like way overdone version of this. What are you comfortable sharing? As you mentioned quizzes, anything else that you're comfortable sharing as far as like other ways that you have gone about doing this?
Well, the quizzes themselves don't attract the links. Nobody cares about a quiz. It's the data that you collect off of that. Okay, so it's data that people like to link to. That's all I'll say on the matter, because I go into all that in my course. And I find, and if you're clever about it, and I'm always about like, yeah, I think infographics are a waste. Well, not a waste. That's overstating it, but I don't think you need to go that far to actually create linkable assets. There's a lot simpler ways, which I talk about, because I don't want to. I paid $4,000 for an infographic. I thought I'd give it a try. I hired a company that were graphics, and we got all this data, and we did this whole thing. It's like $4,000. I think I got like 7 links. Like, do the math.
Eesh.
That is not a good investment, right? That was a total bust. I'm like, there's got to be a better way. And besides, I don't want to sit here and take months to create an infographic and all. So I figured out ways to like create graphics and certain linkable assets in minutes rather than weeks, and it works.
And how do you promote these once you've built them?
Oh, well, that's where I dropped the ball.
Ah.
The other reason I hate it, the other thing I don't like doing is outreach. I really should. I'd probably get a lot more results, but my sites in total have over 10,000 referring domains, so I don't really need to do that anymore. I've got like massive site authority, so like, am I going to sit there and like farm it out to try to get another 5 links when I'm now attracting links like 30, 40, 50 a day? Like, it's not really a good use of my time. Maybe I should hire someone, but I just, I've been fortunate to build up the momentum over the years. I probably could have sped things up if I did the outreach 5 years ago, but I didn't know about outreach then. I didn't know anything about it, that whole process. So really, it's other sites find them and they ask me to use them, or they just use them and don't ask, which I don't care. That's fine. That's cool. That's why I make them.
Gotcha. Cool, man. Dude, that's an awesome, really cool takeaway. Like collect data and then find a way to get that out there and build some links with it. That's awesome. I think that's a much fresher perspective than say infographics or guest post or scraper.
It's easier. It's faster. It's like minutes, not.
You think so?
Oh, I know so. I wouldn't do it otherwise.
Well
Very.
said. Well, cool, man. So let's chat a little bit about your current portfolio. So we've talked a little bit, you do have a portfolio. What are you comfortable sharing there?
Well, basically my approach now is, well, there's about 16 or 17 sites, and you know what, some of them are going to be total busts. I can already sort of sniff it out that they're just not going to work out. Some are going to be okay, and some are going to be big hits.
Are you about to break your 2-year no bail streak?
Pardon?
Are you about to break your 2-year no bail streak?
No bail streak?
No bailing on a site?
Oh, no bailing. Oh, like no bail, yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
My southern drawl.
Sorry about sell them. They all have revenue. It's not like, I've had sites in the past that were literally worthless, so I just like let the domain expire. No, every site I have now actually has value. They have revenue and they have good content, so they are like worth something. So selling would be bailing, I guess. My process now is really jump into broad niches and then carve a way forward within that. So I would never register a domain like whitebasketballshoes.com and like restrict myself to basically white basketball shoes. Like that's just way too narrow. I don't have any room to operate. So I would go, shoebaron.com, for example. So I can like really carve away with any sort of footwear, which is a massive, massive niche. So that's sort of that's my start, and then the name of the game is to carve a path forward with that, and that usually takes 6 months to 12 months, just the exploratory aspect as to what's going to work, and then once usually by the 9th or 12th month mark, something is showing up to be outperforming other areas that I've covered, and then I'll try to hone in on that and move forward with that. So it's sort of like start broad and then zero in on something, and then once I exhaust that area that I've zeroed in on, I'll look for something else. Usually some other data will show me, it's like, oh, okay, well, you seem to be getting good results here. Let's move into that direction as well within the overall niche. So that's my approach. It works well. It takes a long time. I mean, I know a lot of people like read what I do, and they're like, they do the numbers, they add it up, and they're thinking like, well, this is going to take like 3 years. Well, yeah, actually it does take 3 years just to see some half decent results. That's the way it is. But the way I look at it is, here's a business. This is what I love about it, is like literally no barriers to entry. You don't need a law degree to do it. You don't need a degree, period. You don't need any money except $5 to host a website, and you're in business. And it's up to you to be creative and put out something really cool to make it work. And there's not a lot of businesses like that, so it just, what you give up is time. I mean, you're going to make nothing and work for nothing for literally years, but if you're prepared to do it, and it works out, it's quite good.
You mean no one's going to be driving a Lambo in the next 4 months,
Yeah.
surrounded
No.
by hot babes?
Oh man, not going to happen. You might get super lucky, man. Some people have. I certainly took the slow road. I've talked to people who've managed to do things a lot faster than me. Some people are really clever. Like, if you could be really clever with, especially back in the old clickbait days with Facebook, I mean, some people skyrocketed to a lot of traffic very, very quickly. I wasn't one of them. I'm not a clickbait. My mind doesn't work that way. But yeah, some people are very clever and manage to do very quickly, but don't count on it.
Yeah, and so just to give the audience a little bit of peek from your actual results, like it's not you just talk about this, like you actually do really well. What was your latest income report? How much, say,
from half of my niche sites? I only feature some of my sites, like 80,000 for the month. It doesn't include fat stacks or a bunch of other niche sites. So yeah, it's worked out very well. I'm very pleased with that. 2020 has been a big growth year for me. If you look at the income reports for 2019, it's a big difference.
Oh, good for you, man. That's super exciting. What is there anything in particular that you think you've done in 2020 that's resulted in such huge growth?
Well, not really. I'm a little bit surprised by the whole thing, frankly.
Yeah, half the
Yeah,
other businesses in the world got creamed.
I suspect my biggest niche site was in a niche that definitely benefited from COVID, would be my hunch. I don't know for sure, but I think traffic has grown as a result of that. So that was an unexpected benefit that happened this year. Other people were in niches that got hit really hard, and that really sucks. Like, these are just sort of like out of nowhere. It's sort of like the Google Medic update, which I still maintain is like that is just heavy-handedness. That was brutal. I feel really bad for anybody who had sites implicated in that update, because that was left field. And a lot of those people never recovered their sites. So that was like game over sort of thing, which I don't know. I just don't really see that it was warranted. But anyways, this year, I mean, definitely some big winners and losers. I suspect I got lucky.
Mm. Well, good, man. I'm glad you got lucky. Like, hate for anyone to lose, but I'm super glad that it worked out for you the way it did. So you've got this portfolio of 17 sites. You do some writing on your own. Where does most of your time go in your portfolio?
Well, it depends week to week, really. This week I'm doing a bunch of side projects for FatStack, so I'm actually putting time there because my writers have a list of topics right now, so they're good to go. I don't have to, do keyword research right now. Interestingly enough, Facebook is working out really, really well for me as a traffic driver. And I'm as baffled by it as anyone. I don't even know what I'm doing to make it work, frankly. Like if I could tell you like a little formula or recipe, I'd be happy to do so. So I'm actually sort of like, whoa, okay, I'm putting a lot of time on Facebook right now. And for the last week and this week, and probably if this keeps going up, like it's exceeded search traffic, which I never thought would happen. And I'm just sort of like, it's like this little windfall. It's like a party. I expect like any week that, I don't know if it's going to end, but for now, I mean, if it keeps going. So I'm putting time into Facebook, trying to figure more stuff out there, which is interesting. That's all I can really say about it, because I'm as mystified as anybody else. So
I got
so
you.
that I mean, I kind of go where the opportunities are. So, right now, all the content generation is sort of operating more or less without me. I review things. I spend an hour a day reviewing my sites, typically. But that's just 1 hour. And the rest of the time, it's sort of like, well, what should I work on today? It's right now it's Facebook, and there's a whole bunch of fat stacks work I'm doing sort of behind the scenes.
Nice. And you're killing it on Pinterest as well, right?
Yeah, Pinterest has plateaued. It's still definitely been a very, very big traffic driver, hundreds of thousands a month, but it's plateaued. It hasn't grown. It was like massive growth, like crazy growth, and then it's plateaued and it's sort of stuck. So I haven't, with this whole Facebook thing, my attention's been a bit diverted from the Pinterest, because Facebook's like completely blown past Pinterest, past search traffic, and I'm like, well, I'm actually just kind of playing around to see how far I can get it, like how high I can get the traffic. I don't know. It's pretty interesting.
You're getting traffic from all these different sources. Is it difficult to monetize these people?
No, that's great. It's just display ads. I don't do anything. Like, it's all set up for me. I don't have to do anything. I just got to drive the traffic. And it's got to be good traffic. Like if I saw a traffic source, let's say, and they were staying on the site on average for like 7 seconds, I wouldn't get too excited about that. That's not good, right? You want them within your sort of range. Usually search traffic is sort of like the gold standard of traffic quality. People search, they come to your site, assuming the content's good. They're going to hang around for a while, right? Usually, so other traffic sources, that's kind of the benchmark that I look at. But both Pinterest and Facebook traffic is like right in line with search traffic, time on site metrics. So it's quality stuff.
That's amazing, man. And you mentioned that it's all display ads. So you're not doing any, well, I mean, not tough to say none, but like what percentage of your income is, say, display ads versus other things?
Oh, with my niche sites, about 90%.
Gosh.
93, 94. I don't really break it down that closely, but yeah. 90 is the majority.
Dang, man. And what's the other, say, 10%?
Affiliate.
Gotcha. Gosh, man, that's awesome. Good for you. What do you like about display ads versus, say, affiliate or selling courses or drop shipping or whatever? The myriad of ways to make money online.
Two things I really like about it. One, it's very consistent. It's like stable, as long as your traffic's pretty stable, generally it's pretty stable week to week. Now, month to month and quarter to quarter, you're going to have ups and downs, but overall it's stable. And I can kind of count on. I've been in this for enough years that I know, like, Q4 traffic down, ad revenue up. Okay, net probably make more money just because the ad revenue goes really crazy, but traffic goes down for me. January low ad revenue, but traffic starts climbing. So I know that the annual cyclical aspects of it. So I can count on it, and I can project and know where I'm going for the whole year. The other thing I really like about it, and this is most important, is I can write about anything I want. Like if you want to make money with affiliate, like you literally got to write about like really high buyer intent stuff, product reviews, best of products. If you want like to find out the definition of boring, write 100 product reviews. Like you will go nuts. I've done it. I've written like more than that. I've done so many over the years. But like sit down and do, like, that's just not my favorite thing to write about, except for hotel reviews. I could almost be like a professional hotel reviewer. To me, would be like this cool job. That's why I started the travel site. I know travel is like dead in the water this year, but I still get a kick out of writing for a few trips that I go each year, which have been locally lately. But I write a hotel review. I don't know why. It's kind of fun, right? But anyways, yeah, I like the latitude, the flexibility I get with display ads. I don't have to write buyer intent content. I can write some random opinionated piece article on, I don't know, whatever, like some sport, or I can do a how-to tutorial on a specific part of tennis. I play tennis every week, and I can make money on that. I mean, you could do so you might be thinking, well, tennis. Oh, well, you could promote rackets and stuff. Well, if you do like a how-to article in tennis, nobody who searches how-to is like about to pull the trigger on a tennis racket purchase. They already have a tennis racket and they want to learn how to do something. So how do you make money from it? Display ads, and they earn really well.
That's awesome, man. Good for you, dude. I'm thrilled for you. The only two people I know who do crazy well with display ads are you and Ron Stefanski. Do you know him?
Yeah, I've talked to Ron. Yeah, nice guy. We
Yeah,
chat here
super
and
nice
there.
guy. You two just both.
I think he's a great YouTube personality. He's got the knack for videos.
Yeah, man. So Ron has kind of turned into my buddy. So he interviewed me a while back, and then I interviewed him. Turns out, so I'm in Brazil right now. Turns out his wife is Brazilian. So I've been chatting with them about like places to go and where she recommends, and yeah. So he and I have turned into buddies. But you and you and him are the only two guys I know who are not exclusively display ads, but the majority display ads. You two are both just killing it.
Well, I mean, put it in perspective, though. Affiliate marketers are the minority, if you think about it, in the internet. I mean, most sites you go to are monetized with display ads. So, which is really interesting to me because when I came into this business or fell into it, everybody talked about affiliate marketing, right? But here's what you got to keep in mind. The people that write about this stuff usually have only one website, right? And it's the website where they talk about how to start a blog. Well, yeah, the best way to monetize that type of site is affiliate. Like, for instance, Fat Stacks, right? I've got an article, how to start a blog. I've got all the usual articles everybody else does. And, they're littered with affiliate links. And so it makes, like, Fat Stacks does have display ads on there. I'm one of the few, but you got to put money where your mouth is. So I do it. And they earn okay, but it's a pittance compared to the affiliate revenue that Fat Stacks would earn, okay? So anybody who would operate, if Fat Stacks was my only site, and that's the only site I ever owned, and I would compare my ad revenue to the affiliate revenue, I would be like, well, of course affiliate revenue is where it's at, and affiliate marketing is the way you should go because ad revenue makes a pittance, okay? But when you go into different niches, and if people would actually own other niche sites and they would see the difference between what affiliate revenue will generate on, so let's say you owned a site about history, let's say Roman history was your thing. Okay, I'd love to see you make a killing with affiliate marketing on a site about Roman history.
Good
You
luck.
might sell some books, you might sell some Kindle books, but if you get 1 million visitors a month, that'd be pretty good. The ad revenue would completely like annihilate any affiliate revenue you could potentially get. Like, and that is the case with most niches. And which is why most people, you hear way too often that affiliate marketing is the way to go, but the reality is probably 95% of the sites on the web are primarily monetized with display ads. And that was a big reason I started Fat Stacks. And I've had a lot of readers email me like, I had no idea about display ads, and I put them on my site and I like doubled my site revenue overnight. And which leads me to another question I get all the time too. Well, I'm doing this with affiliate and I'm making X amount and I'm pretty happy with it. It's an affiliate marketing site. Should I put ads on the site? My immediate answer is always yes. Okay. Test it. I suspect your affiliate revenue will not go down much, and all you're going to do is going to add a really nice chunk of ad revenue to that. And I've had people email me and say, I did it, and I actually doubled my overall revenue from my niche site just by putting ads on there. And it didn't hurt the affiliate revenue. I know it sounds crazy because a lot of people tell you don't do that. I've noticed it with Fat Stacks. I put ads on there. My email sign up rates, which is sort of the focus of the site, are the same. And any affiliate revenue off there, it's the same. They didn't cannibalize anything. So yeah, there you go. There's my soapbox speech on the benefits of display ads to monetize a website.
I'm about to put display ads on this podcast now. You've convinced me.
I will go 50-50 on that. I'm just kidding.
Sounds good, man. We'll work something out. So you mentioned you have fat stacks, plus you have your portfolio. What draws you to the portfolio as opposed to just doing, say one enormous site?
That's a great question. I often go, I actually sometimes doubt what I'm doing. I have friends who have one enormous site. They make mountains of cash with it, and they're able to dedicate their entire focus and time to it, and it probably ends up a much better site. Here's my thing. It always comes down to this. I have one site that earns the lion's share of my revenue, and I don't really like being in that position because I'm one Google algo update away from getting wiped out. All right. So what I would love to have is 3 sites, huge sites. And if one gets wiped out, I've still got a healthy business. Right? The chances of 3 big websites in all different niches getting wiped out when I don't do any link building whatsoever are very, very slim in my view. But having one site, you know, there's a certain amount of risk there, even though I don't do link building. I mean, updates are updates. You ask anybody who got hit by Medic. I mean, nobody saw that one coming. Sites that were making like 50 grand a month were wiped out making like 3, like all their traffic disappeared. Like it was terrible. So, you know, it can happen. So yeah, the reason I have the multi-site approach is I would really love one day, it's not going to happen quickly because I do put the most of my time and money into my one biggest site. It really is almost like I'm a one-site business because it does so well. But I do put effort and time into additional. I just got to be patient. It'll take a few years for sure for them to get any meaningful levels. But eventually, once I'm there, it's sort of I'm actually kind of diversified, and that's my main reason for doing it.
And are you diversified into different traffic sources as well? I mean, you mentioned Facebook and Pinterest saying your big sites.
Yeah, I am. My focus and all the content I really put the most effort into is still search. I still think search is the best traffic source by far. I think Pinterest and Facebook are fickle, too fickle. Google search, it can be fickle. I mean, it's not bulletproof, but over the years, I think generally speaking, it's more consistent. I think the rules are more clear with Google search than they are with Facebook and Pinterest, which they just sort of like willy-nilly like turn off, you know, do updates and you have no idea really what's going on. So yeah, search is my focus. I am pretty nicely diverse. I mean, in fact, Facebook is sending more traffic to my site now, like organic Facebook, which is baffling.
It's almost unheard of in the past few years.
Yeah, I know. So I don't know how much longer I'm not counting on it. I look at it as like just total, absolute gravy bonus traffic for now. So my focus is still search. It's always going to be search in terms of how much money and resources I put into content. Let me put it this way to you, okay? Like if you own a site and you have, let's say, 30% Facebook traffic, 15% Pinterest traffic, and 55% search traffic. If your search traffic died, your site's dead. The value's toast. I mean, yeah, you may still have a sizable amount of traffic coming from social, and that's great, and you'll make money from it. But for all intents and purposes, in terms of resale value and your motivation to continue working on that site is pretty minimal. I know I would be pretty dejected. I'd be like, what's the point? I'll milk the Facebook as much as I can. I'll milk the Pinterest. But like if search is dead, I don't know. I think it's a dead site.
Yeah. Yep. Great. Okay, gotcha. The reason I asked about the portfolio versus single site is I take a bit of a contrarian view here. So I think when most people talk about diversification in our space, they talk about it in terms of building new sites that are all get traffic from Google. I still tend to think that's a low level of diversification. You still have a single point of failure. Like, I think any one Google update is unlikely to hit multiple different niches in the same way. But I think that in the future, there's a very real possibility that Google is going to continue sending less clicks to websites for the foreseeable future. Now, there's some stuff in the works, like anti-monopoly stuff in the U.S. that I think it's possible that the U.S. government's going to kind of get involved in, so like featured snippets and Google taking content. But it helps me sleep easier at night to know my friends also get traffic from like Facebook and Pinterest and email lists and so on. So it's good to hear. Cool, man. Is that something you ever worry about though? Like say Google implementing an increase in featured snippets or something like that?
Not really. They've done a lot of it. I think, personally, I mean, I like the snippets as a Google user. I mean, who doesn't, right? Like, how old is so and so? It's right there, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Is it fair to publishers? I'll leave that to the courts to decide, and I'm sure that they're all in all the countries they are deciding that, and I think probably in a lot of ways it's not really fair. But I do think it should dictate what kind of content you put out, because I don't I do a lot of FAQ snippets, and they actually drive a ton of traffic. So people will
No
click
kidding.
and go into it. Okay, so I think there are opportunities to be had. I think certain types of sites are dead. I mean, anybody who had a digital stopwatch website is pretty much out of business because Google displays a stopwatch. I know because I use it all the time. So stuff like that, right? Or what's today's date, or anything that can be answered in three sentences or three lines of text, like those are kind of you should move into a direction where you're going to create content that people still want to click through. FAQs actually work quite well. The click-through rate's actually not bad, so that's been something I've been doing a lot of over the last year and a half. I guess at the end of the day, yeah, they kind of suck, but I think if you work with it, you can also get a lot of traffic if you take advantage. Like the whole schema markup thing is really interesting because I do it for reviews, FAQs, video, recipes. I do as much of it as I possibly can because I think there's a net benefit to me, even though I know a lot of content is being shown for free and nobody's ever going to visit a site. But I think on the flip side, if you play ball with all this stuff, and a lot of web publishers don't bother, but if you're willing to do it, you do get more exposure in the SERPs as well. So I don't know, is it a net benefit or loss? I don't really know that. I would say overall my traffic's increased over the years, so it's working. I don't know if Google's going to get more aggressive with like showing. I tend to think not, but I could be wrong. Maybe I'm just naively optimistic. I don't know. But the traffic is still coming to a lot of sites at the end of the day. I just think for some sites and some niches, they're getting hosed big time, and that would suck. I think the bigger threat. Well, I think the cookieless Chrome coming down the pipe is a potential problem. I have no idea how that's going to play out. That might hurt ad revenue considerably. That's, I think, 2022. Could be wrong, maybe 2021. But anyways, ad networks, there's too much money at play for it to be like not addressed and dealt with. Artificial intelligence content's a threat. Like, let's not kid ourselves. I mean, at some point, is it going to be as good of what we can write? I think for certain types of content, absolutely. I read that some companies are using it already, like sports statistics. Anything sort of data related can be regurgitated into a readable article where people just want to know the sports scores or something. So there's that, right? So how are we going to deal with that? I don't have the answers. These are huge threats to what we're doing. So you're right. You're spot on. It's like if I have three big sites, they're not really diversified when you look at these larger potential threats coming down the road. So you're absolutely right. What am I going to do about it? Well, at this point, I'm a one-trick pony, man. I don't really have anything else going on. So, but maybe I should think about that.
That's funny you mentioned AI producing articles. I think that is a potential disruptor in our space for sure. I think AI is going to be a disruptor in a lot of spaces, but in ours in particular. So just a couple of weeks ago, I was writing, we chatted about it a little bit before, software tool SiteBuddy. So we have open metrics, like anyone at any time can see how much revenue and how much expenses we have and so on. And we do a monthly report. So just, I think it was a week ago, I was writing up this monthly report, and I remember having the thought, like, I'm just copy and pasting information. Like, this could 100% be done by an AI. And then part of this, like, human labor would be just wiped out. I was listening to, I can't remember who it was, talking about just the amount of jobs that are going to be displaced due to AI. It was like trucker jobs, a lot of the things we consider essential services right now, like they're going to be replaced. Like it's quite a lot.
Yeah, I know. Who knows where it's going to go? I have no idea. Yeah, I don't know. I get asked a lot about this, so I don't really have an answer. I think there's going to be certain types of content that AI will never be able to. I mean, if you collect your own data like I do, AI can't get that data. They could present it, but they can't get it, and that's would still be my content, right? Um, so maybe there's going to be universal AI content generators we can use, and then it's a matter of the inputs you put into it, which still requires the human brain, I suppose. And I think there's potential. Like, it's interesting. Let's say, I mean, AI content. It's still going to depend on which keywords you go after. I suppose AI content could figure that out for you as well. But I mean, there are ways to apply human creativity to it. Think that might give you advantages. The whole thing is trying to figure out how you can add some value to that current situation. Things that now are so different than they were 10 years ago when it comes to search and everything else we're doing. And I've been very fortunate to be able to adapt and, in fact, thrive with the changes. I mean, I had started building thousands of spammy backlinks to just merely okay content to rank it because it worked. That doesn't work anymore, and we've all had to adapt from that. I guess some people are still trying them. I don't know. I don't think that stuff works. Maybe that's before your time, back when the old spinning content and slamming junk links all over the web was the way to do SEO. But those days are long gone, and I think I'm glad they are. So things evolve, but I don't know. It's gonna. Who knows? We can speculate all day long. It's a threat. Let's put it that way. It's a threat that we need to be cognizant of.
Sure. So you mentioned kind of things changing through the ages. How have you been able to really be in the game so long? So you said you started in 2009. Is that right?
Well, I started very, very part-time. I started before that blogging for the law firm that I was at, like even before that. So yeah, I mean, if you count that, it's been a long time. Full-time doing this early 2012. So 8 years full-time.
Gotcha. So I mean, like 8 years in internet marketing that's a good little chunk of time, like you
Yeah.
probably got more experience than most people in the industry. So how have you organized your portfolio, your life, your business, where you have been able to really weather all the changes that come, like Google updates, like new technology, like increased amounts of data and so on?
Yeah, I mean, I've had big ups and downs, man. And you just sort of try to stay above. I focus on good content. I don't think you're ever really going to go wrong. I mean, there's other things you can do. I used to get a lot of traffic from Facebook. It was a massive traffic driver back in the day, and then they kind of killed that party. And so, I had to adapt. Fortunately, I had, published a lot of SEO-rich content that carried on the old traffic torch, so to speak, and I built that up over the last few years, and I will always continue to do that, I think, as long as search traffic works for us. Boy, I don't know, just trying to put out the best stuff I can and scramble along. But I mean, there have been really bad months, and then there's really good months. It's I think that's any business, though. I mean, in practicing law too. I mean, law sounds like it's all stable and all, but unless you're in a massive like corporate law firm, which is really like a big corporation. I mean, if you're in a small law firm, you have good months, you have bad months. Like, it's ups, and that's how revenue goes for any business, right? So you just have to be prepared to weather that. Save as much as you can. Like, don't spend everything. Saving has got me through some tough times, I can tell you.
Gotcha. Yeah. Now you've got quite a good little chunk of monthly income to save.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
That's awesome, dude. That's sweet. Well, cool, man. So what are your plans in the future? So where do you see yourself, say 5, 10 years? And then do you have any kind of end goal you're shooting for?
Well, yeah, I have an exit point. When I reach a certain number, I will cash it all in.
That's above 80,000 a month.
Yeah, it surprisingly is. I live in Canada. It's not cheap to live here, and so there's a certain amount. I will cash it all in, and I will, just hopefully be, so I don't have to worry about money again and just sock it away. But so yeah, I mean, that's kind of the end goal, and then I'll start over. I'll do it again. At least that's what I think I do. Maybe when you get to that stage, if I get there, I may not get there. You'll be like, no, I'm not doing that again. I'm done. I'm gonna go do something else. But I think now I like it enough that I would do it again. I love the idea that you can like literally bootstrap from nothing with except $5 a month hosting into a huge content publishing business. I think it's great.
Awesome, man.
You know what actually is a model that I find really interesting, and that might be my next thing is email newsletters, like paid premium. That is a model I love writing for the Fat Stacks newsletter, and it's working out really well. And I would love to do something paid, not necessarily in the Fat Stacks realm, maybe somewhere else that I have an interest, but to build up a readership who are willing to pay you $10 a month or whatever to read your newsletter that you put out, say, twice a week. That's kind of a cool business model. It's actually picking up steam. I've read about some, fairly high-profile journalists that write for big publications are like leaving the publications, and the readers are following them and paying them to read their work in a newsletter. That's a cool model. That's sort of like, you're independent of Google and Facebook, and it's sort of like, you run some paid ads or something, but that's a neat model. I like that. You just focus purely on the writing, like 100%, not SEO writing, not clickbait writing, but actual, like, really good writing that people appreciate. That's kind of a cool business model.
Dude, I think that's an amazing business model. I know I'm buddies with Richard Patey. He's all in on that. Are you familiar with him, Richard?
Yeah.
Patey?
I'm on a free one. I didn't pony up the $50 yet, but I'm on the free one.
It's pretty cool. So he gave me the paid one when I was working with him. So what it is he essentially like gives curated deals, and it was just for content sites, but now he's expanding it to all web assets. So e-commerce, I guess perhaps service-based businesses, and newsletters. So he has a paid newsletter that curates newsletters that you can invest in. I think that's the coolest model ever. Like, yeah, very low dependency, right? Like,
totally.
It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. And then I think I think paid ads would be fine. But even without paid ads, it's like a strong referral program. That's how the Hustle and Morning Brew, and then I'm on another of theirs called the Marketing Brew. That's how they work. It's just referrals.
Yeah, the referrals are good. I'm actually doing that right now using a very similar system, and it works. I get a lot of referrals, but the $1 million question at this point is, are those referrals tightly aligned with the newsletter, or am I just getting like family members of the readers who have absolutely no interest in the content, but they're doing it because their brother or their sister asked them to, and they're just going to unsubscribe or whatever, ignore, right? So I don't really know that I just started doing this because I thought, well, it's cost me nothing. Why not give it a shot? Interesting. It does work. I do get a good number of subscribers from it. I just don't know if it's worth it yet. But, when you look at something like Morning Brew, that has pretty wide appeal email newsletter, right? So it's got a lot larger of a potential audience than Fat Stacks, which is purely about being a content publisher. That's the focus of the entire thing. That's a very small audience relative to something like Morning Brew. So something to keep in mind for the whole referral angle.
Gotcha. Cool, man. Well, dude, if you go in on newsletters, paid newsletters, let me know. I'll be your first subscriber.
All right. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Cool, John. So some rapid fire questions to close us out. These tend not to be so rapid fire because I always have some kind of commentary because I can't shut up. So. Right. What is a tool that you just cannot live without?
Ahrefs.
Nice. And what's something that you're reading or consuming right now that you're recommending to other people?
John Grisham, Camino Wins. I read fiction. I don't read nonfiction.
At all?
Hardly ever.
Really?
I don't care for it. Here's the thing, okay? Business books. I know lots of people read them. They're super popular. I've read a few in my day, but I think they're a huge distraction for me. Because you're going to... I got a thing going on, and it's working really well. I've got a whole routine, and I don't really need to improve anything for myself. I know what I got to do in terms of, I just got to keep at it, right? But like business books, it's like you're going to read one. And so, okay, you're going to Maybe it's a productivity book you're going to implement. And then you finish the book and it's great. And then you read something else, which is going to get you to do something different. And it's sort of like, I don't know, you fall into these things where I think for me, they're distracting. So I just avoid them altogether. I just read fiction.
Mm. And then John Grisham writes a lot of like lawyer type stuff. Right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I'm a big fan. I read historical fiction, a lot of historical fiction. John Grisham, that's generally the lion's share of what I read. There's enough of it out there.
Any other authors that you read a lot of?
Oh God, Wilbur Smith, I've read everything. Bernard Cornwell, I want to start. I've never read big historical fiction, so that's next on the list. Other big, Tom Clancy, read everything. Yeah, I mean,
I was taking notes. It sounds to me like you read a lot of more realistic type stuff.
Yeah, I guess it's all fiction though. I do read biographies here and there, but yeah, mostly fiction.
Gotcha. Yeah. So by realistic type stuff, I meant like not sci-fi or fantasy. Go ahead. Are you about to say something?
Oh yeah, no, I don't read sci-fi or fantasy. Usually like legal thrillers, military thrillers, historical fiction. That's what I focus on. Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha. That's what gets the job done. So when I read a lot of nonfiction, not a ton of business stuff. Like you're 100% right. And I think at the end of the day, a lot of business stuff is regurgitated with slight differences. Not super helpful. I read a lot of like psychology and sociology and etc. But whenever I read fiction, which I love doing, it's always like sci-fi or fantasy. And I think my reason for that is that I feel that my realistic life is stressful enough. Like I don't need other realistic life stressful. Like if I want stress, I want aliens like war kind of where I know like this is not real at all.
I hear you. That's good. I like that.
Just 100% relaxed. That's funny, man. And then do you have any like podcasts you listen to or YouTube channels that you just binge out on?
No, I don't do social media. I don't watch YouTube and I don't listen to podcasts. I know it's a bit ironic because my business is on social media. I do make some videos for YouTube and I don't even know how to find my podcasts. I don't even know where they are. Never visited them. I just use Buzzsprout to like upload it and they distribute it. Really cool podcasting platform, by the way, like super easy.
Good.
I remember I was looking there's a lot out there, right, to host podcasts. And I remember reading it and there was a few others. And then somebody wrote like, Buzzsprout's the easiest platform to use. Like sold, I'm in there, man. And sure enough, it is.
That's awesome. I'm using, so I think it's called Blueberry, but it's spelled funny. And I heard that it had the best analytics. So it's funny just hearing the different things that appeal to us. Like,
yeah, totally.
I can work through technological crap, but like I want to know every second it's what.
Yeah, we're all different, right?
That's funny. That's funny, man. Would you say that like most of your online life is kind of ruled by simplicity? Because like if you're not in YouTube or podcasts or social, like you have a streamlined. This is why you're more productive than the rest of us.
Oh yeah, I don't do any of that. Yeah, I keep it as simple as humanly possible. I've said it before in a lot of email newsletters. People are probably sick of me hearing it, but like if you only get one thing done a day and that is publish one article, you can chalk it up to a good day. That's it. That's how simple what I do is, and I stick to that. A lot of it is just a wasted time.
Yeah. I heard a quote this week that entertainment is you killing time until time kills you. Like, oh gosh. Like, I don't 100% agree with that, but it kind of makes me think about like, dang, how much time have I wasted this week or this month or in my life?
Well, yeah, I'll qualify that though. Like I'm also a routine person, and I know a lot of people don't like routine. I like routine. It works for me. Like I work the same hours every day, and when I work, I work. But when I'm out of work, man, I read Daily Mail, I read TMZ, I read CNN and Fox. I like, I'm sitting reading the headlines, and I love that stuff. I just try not to do it during work. But I mean, I get a kick out of that stuff. I think celebrity gossip stuff is a hoot. I probably like it more than most. So I'm totally into that stuff. I just try to avoid all of it. But I don't really do social media. I probably should do a little bit more, like get into it. I just never really fell into it much. I don't know why. Just never was something. I'm an introverted person. I don't know if that factors into it. I don't know.
I don't know. I feel the same way about social media though. So I probably fall closer to an extrovert nowadays than introvert. I just can't stand social. I don't know why. Like I really need it for my job.
Yeah,
If I
right.
want to
Yeah.
make money next year, I better be in social. Um, but I just can't get the hang of it. Like it's just not natural to me. Like I love to call. I'm glad to text. Like video chat, that's fine. But like scrolling through people's posts on Facebook, like, I don't care about your problems.
I'm a big
So
fan of WhatsApp, though. I must say that's a really cool tool. That is something I use a lot. I guess it's kind of social, isn't it?
I think it technically counts as social media, but I just use it as a texting app.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah. So you mentioned traveling earlier. Where do you travel to?
Well, this year, really nowhere. We live close to Whistler. I'm in British Columbia, so we went to Whistler a bunch of times. That was where we could go. We had a trip planned to the Oshkosh Air Show in Wisconsin, but that got canceled, unfortunately, due to COVID. So we've rescheduled that for next year. Week-long air show. Should I like air shows?
Awesome.
Going as a whole family. Should be cool. Yeah, should be fun. Shout out to the people in Wisconsin. Never been. So other than that, yeah, I don't know, the usual trips, man. I got young kids, so that we keep them in mind when we go anywhere. Usually, it's got to be a pool nearby. That's about it. There's a pool, it counts. It's a vacation.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, you mentioned WhatsApp and traveling. So this is interesting. So WhatsApp's not that big of a deal in the USA. I don't know about Canada. Um, like I can say WhatsApp, and 9 out of 10 people aren't going to know what it is unless they have family who lives
That's
abroad.
that's interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
here it seems it's at least in my neck of the woods, like we have groups. It's just an easy way to communicate to a certain group of people to coordinate or plan or whatever. Yeah, it
yeah,
works well. We like it. Yeah, it's good for
yeah.
families too. Like my sister's in Michigan, and got my parents are an hour. Well, actually, they're not on it, but they should be. Anyways, families that live apart, it's a neat way to communicate as well.
Yeah, that's how I chat with my family back in the States. Like when I'm traveling, we all use WhatsApp, and
Yeah,
everywhere I travel, I spend most of my time in Central and South America nowadays. Um, that's all they use. Like they don't even have a texting app on their phone. It's just WhatsApp.
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. So back to the question. Back to the questions. This is why the rapid fire questions aren't that rapid fire. What do you think is one strategy you've done this year that's just been blowout successful for you that someone else can implement?
Let me look at my notes. Oh, yeah, the same strategy I've used every year. Publish low competition, like good content targeting low competition keywords. I was going to stick to that strategy.
Okay.
Maybe in 6 months I'll say, well, the Facebook thing turned out to be really lucky, and I've sort of figured it out, and I'm like getting millions of visitors a month. I doubt it's going to happen, but maybe that'll have been the big development for this year. But it's way too early to say that. I'd say it's the old thing I've been doing for a long time.
Awesome. And then what's one way that you've cut expenses this year?
I've hired some in-house writers full time, and I actually thought that would cost me more money. It's turned out to be less. Like I'm saving on a per content basis or per article basis, which has been really cool. And they're great writers, and I really like working with them. So, yeah, that is. Now, is it going to save me like tons of money? No, it's not. But it's one of those things where I'm getting better content for less, and it's nice working directly with people because sometimes you have unique situations with content that you can't really communicate all that quickly or efficiently with, let's say, a big content service. But when you work, directly with writers, you can do a quick video and say, okay, I need this, this, and this, and then they get it. So yeah, that's been a good thing this year.
If you don't, do you mind me asking about that? Because I'm actually looking to do the same.
Sure, to a limited degree. It's in my course.
Okay, okay, gotcha. Okay,
Sorry. I told you
okay.
I wasn't going to plug the courses so much, and here I am. It's like the second time. But yeah, there's some information, I don't give it all away for nothing.
Yeah, okay. So let me ask, and if it's too much, just let me know.
Sure.
One thing I can say is, so you know, I'm not an affiliate for anybody. I don't do them. Um, but I'm happy to vouch for you and your courses for anyone who's listening. Like I get nothing if they sign up, but I'm glad to vouch. So feel
Oh,
free to
thanks.
promote. Um, so okay, so let me ask, and then you just tell me if it's too much. So I've never been able to work out how to pay writers less by hiring them full time. Do you have word quotas they have to meet, or how do you is this in the course?
Yeah, this
Okay.
is a big part of it. I figured out a really good way to get like content that's costing me 50% what I used to pay or more, much better content, faster content. It's in the course. This was an idea I thought was a good idea, and it turned out to be better than I expected. So,
If you're getting better content for 50% less, then I would keep that in the course as well. So no hard feelings. And then last rapid fire question for you. What do you think is a great business that doesn't exist today?
oh yeah, this sounds so dumb, man, but somebody that comes by and picks up your car and bring it to the dealership for servicing and repairs. I know that's out of left field, man, but like recently my car had to go in for a bunch of repairs on 2 occasions, and like I got the service and then they're like, "Oh, it needs this repair." And I'm like, oh, "I got to come back." And it's not close to my house. It's like 20 minutes away and it's rush hour, and I live in an area where traffic is horrendous. So I'm like burning up all this time. And I got to wait for the guy in the shuttle. I mean, at least they have a shuttle. They drive me back. I know this is like totally over dramatic. I make a big deal of nothing. But like it occurred to me, it's like, boy, it sure would have been nice if they could have just come out and picked up my car, take it to the dealership, fix it, and deliver it back. There you go. That's the business I wish that existed that doesn't, and it probably never will.
I don't know. That sounds like the perfect gig economy business.
There's something there. I'm thinking, hey, Uber could jump in on this or somebody. I don't know. I do love the gig economy, man. Like I got to tell you, like food delivery and Uber and TaskRabbit is something I use recently. I could probably do a TaskRabbit now that I think about it. I don't know if TaskRabbit's where you are. They're in the States, I know, and they're in Canada too. You can hire people to like go buy groceries, like local people, right? And it's pretty expensive, but they'll go get groceries for you, or they'll go to the post office and stuff. I could do that. Maybe I'll do that next time.
You talk
Solve
about it
solve
being
the problem.
expensive. Have you ever calculated how much you earn per hour? Like you spread out across all your
No,
sites?
not really. I don't
Something
know. I work
disgusting.
maybe you work 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, maybe a little bit more. You know how this type of work is. Sometimes I hop on my FatSax forum at night and check out what's going on. I don't know. Say 45 hours a week I work.
Okay,
So whatever
so
whatever that works out to. I don't
make the
know.
math easy. Say you work 40 hours a week and you earned $80,000 last year just off of, what was it, 8 of your sites?
Yeah. So yeah,
You,
160 hours a month.
yeah. Yeah, make it super. Oh gosh, man,
Too much.
you earn a good little chunk.
Too much math for me. You're the analytical guy.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I'm pulling up my phone to do the math here, but so let's see. There's 4.5 weeks in a month. You earn, say, I'm doing this. Let's say 40 times 4.5. Say you work 180 hours a month, earn $80,000 divided by 180. You earn $444 an hour, John.
Oh, all right. That's good.
So I don't want to hear another word about how expensive TaskRabbit is.
Yeah, no, I know. I hear you. Yeah.
No, I love the gig economy as well. So, I'm in Brazil. I mean, keep promoting that to people. Um, I did the math, and my expenses are so low here that if someone earns more than $10 an hour and it takes an hour to get a delivery from Uber Eats, then calculate your cost per meal, and you actually end up having more money and more time if you just order food from Uber Eats and then work while it arrives.
Oh yeah, I totally believe it. Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, I'd be all over living in Brazil or somewhere else. That'd be cool.
Well, come on, John. We'll just hang out. Awesome.
Yeah,
John,
awesome.
thanks so much for coming on. Really enjoyed it. Great interview. This has been a blast.
Thanks for having me, Brady. Appreciate it.